So today we're reviewing
Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
So we saw this movie with our good friends Austin and Emmanuel. We would have reviewed it in the theater, but we had some a-hole in there kick us out.
Brutal.
Worker not having a good day, so...
This guy? No.
Basically, we are coming right out of the movie. What are your initial thoughts of Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness?
There's a lot. There's definitely a lot on my mind. I'm trying to push away the moment right to the ended.
Yeah,
initial thoughts. I think there was a lot. Like the whole time, I was interested. I was never bored. There was a lot of moments that, once again, that maybe I was a little overwhelmed at times. But I think it was to what the movie was trying to go for. But I think there's a lot to like. I enjoyed the movie. Definitely walked out of the theater interested in wanting to see what's next. And I think it's a very solid addition to the MCU since post Endgame.
Yeah, no spoilers in this review, non-spoiler. This was a really crazy movie. I mean, so much happens in this movie. It's insane. There's just so much. And without spoilers, it's going to be hard to get into it. But there's parts I loved. There's parts that confused me. And there's parts I didn't like. But there's a lot to like in this movie. And there is some excellent scenes. And why don't we just get into our positives with this movie?
Positives for me have to be probably just the effects that they do in this movie. There's a lot of, just like the first Doctor Strange, there's a lot of, I don't even know what to call it, like mystical fight sequences. Just the power of Doctor Strange alone. It's a lot of kind of power of the arts type stuff, whatever. It's trippy stuff, but it's done very, very well. And then you throw in a character like Scarlet Witch, and her powers are very similar. There's a lot of cool sequences that, to me, we had front row seats in this theater we were at, so we were kind of just like right there in the middle of all this stuff, trying to looking side to side, all this stuff's going on. But I think it's a tough concept to do, and definitely something you would think is you read it and it's in pictures, it's easy to do in pictures, but then to make it in a movie, I thought they did a great job of putting that onto the screen. The characters, storylines, and arcs, there's a lot there. There's a lot of characters in this movie. As you can tell by the Multiverse title, you expect to see a lot of universes. Marley's in the air.
Marley had to take the tradition of busting down the door.
Carrying the tradition that Rex set. Rex will be in here right now. But I think the characters, there's a lot of characters just like Rex.
There we go.
Rex being going in and out. I think Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch did a good job. And I think all the actors, for the most part, did a good job. And like I said, it had my interest. I was like into the movie. It did not seem to drag at all to me. There's a lot going on, but I just think maybe the acting, the fight sequences, and the score is pretty good at times. And they treated a lot of the characters with respect, which is one of the biggest things in these universes, especially when you have a universe that's this far along. That's kind of what you worry about, is you don't want characters to be disrespected, like things have happened in the past.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, everyone's respected in this movie for the most part. Like, as far as there's times where I was like, no, they're not. But then how they wrapped it up, I thought they did do a pretty good job of that.
Yeah, so the biggest positives for me are the main characters in this movie. Doctor Strange is amazing. Scarlet Witch is absolutely amazing. Yeah. I mean, just has epic scenes. And it just is really great in this movie. Wong is great. Rachel. What's her name in the movie? Christine in the movie is really good. There's just so many great characters, and the main characters in this movie just carry through and that's great in this movie. The visuals are really good. I'm trying to think. The action scenes are really good as well. The sound, we had the sound freaking right in our face because we're front row. So we had the sound like right in our face. The screen was so close that I had to turn my shoulder to look at everything because I couldn't see the right side without turning my head like this. So that was a little crazy, and we got the experience. Really trippy scenes. It was really good visuals. There's a lot of crazy things that happened. It kept me surprised, and it surprised me many times in good ways. And I really had a good time with most of this movie.
Yeah.
Why don't we go into our negatives?
Negatives, once again, it's kind of similar to the first one. I think it's probably more so than the first one. With how much stuff is going on, you're kind of like it's out there with the storyline. I think they did a really good job of portraying it, but there were a couple times that I was having to really think and be like, wait a second, what's here, what's going on? Especially when you throw in the multiverse stuff. You saw a little bit of this in the Spider-Man movie, not very, like it was nowhere to this degree, but when you have so much stuff going on in different locations, you're constantly having to like remember where are you now, which spot are you in now, and like which characters are who, and are they actually who they are? Like wondering, I think that was kind of a negative to me at times, because you're just wondering what, like, I don't know, that was just on my mind at times with that. And certain character choices and storyline decisions throughout the movie, definitely had me like shaking my head and like wondering what's going on here. And a couple of things were handled, but some things were still left open. But there's just a lot going on. I think at times you just as a viewer of the movie, I just sat there like, man, I was enjoying it, but I'm just sitting there like, man, there's a lot on the screen right now, and we were front rows, maybe even more on the screen.
We're like in the multiverse.
The ending for me didn't wrap up as cleanly as I would have hoped, so that's probably negative as well. I mean, obviously, not every movie's gonna wrap up clean, but I think this one has really ended kind of in a like all over the place type mode.
Yeah, my main negatives would be is kind of what our friend Austin mentioned after the movie, is that they kind of did Doctor Strange a little dirty in certain aspects with, I mean, I'm not spoiling the movie, but it just, for a lot of this movie, it seems like he cannot do anything. But it just seems like he's messing up every last thing he does. Kind of even starting from Spider-Man Far From Home, where he gets beat by Spider-Man. It just seems like he can't do anything right, which is something that was a little weird. And there are confusing parts. Even for someone that, I mean, obviously, we've watched every MCU movie. Yeah. We haven't watched the shows, but our friend Emmanuel can confirm that watching the WandaVision show did not clear up any of the confusion.
I know one scene that they mentioned something that was part of it, but that was the only mention.
Yeah, and so there was a lot of confusing things still, even seeing the show. And there's things that, like you were saying, that you're trying to figure out, and just more stuff keeps happening, and you're thinking, what is going on? And certain things that still aren't answered to me, which is kind of an issue there. But why don't we go into our final thoughts and scores, and we'll...
Like I said, I walked out of the theater very angry because something that happened at the theater, but as far as walking out of the movie mentally, I've liked a lot of it. And like I said, it was a good addition to the MCU, especially post Endgame, where I'm kind of, as a fan, like hoping to see a different storyline started here to get my excitement and just interest in this universe, because obviously Endgame really did wrap up what we grew up with, and that's just kind of why he's a very big character. So his movies are going to have a lot in there, and they definitely put a lot in this movie, but they did a good job with it. Good special effects, like great special effects, good fight sequences, funny lines, and yeah, I think it's a good movie. And I would have to probably, I feel like I would have to go with just because of how they treated Scarlet Witch, and they did give her some epic scenes, because she's definitely she's my favorite female superhero in the MCU, and I like Doctor Strange. Wong, they did some justice. Probably the best Wong sequences in his time in the MCU. Some cool, cool monsters.
Really cool
monsters designs, and there's some scary sequences as well. I think I should have mentioned that as a positive. There's some very scary moments and like settings. Someone had mentioned that in their review, and I agree. I'd have to go with an 8 out of 10 for this one. I'm leaning. I'm almost thinking I want to go as high as 8.5, but I don't know. I think I'm going to stick with an 8, because 8's right where I would probably be, because I want to see it again in theaters, and that's always kind of my line for if I'm going to see it or not, if it's an 8 or not, 8 or up or not. So I'd have to go with, I'm going to go with 8 out of 10 for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, because it was a solid movie, and yeah.
That's true. I was just thinking about that too. I honestly would want to go back and see this again. I mean, there's a lot to like about this movie. I mean, there are beyond epic scenes, and trying to think of a score is very difficult because, like you said, there's really cool monsters in this that I did not expect. It's not spoilers, there's monsters. Yeah. There's really cool creatures. Yeah, you see one in the trailer, but there's a lot of cool monsters in this movie that I did not expect. Really good CGI. I mean, top-notch CGI on these things. And there's a lot of shocking things. Scarlet Witch has some of the most epic scenes I've ever seen. And she's had some really epic scenes. Doctor Strange has a lot of cool... There's a really cool just things they show in this movie that have me interested all the way through. I mean, I'm just thinking about that right now. I was interested in this movie and laughing and engaged basically the whole thing. feel like I've got to give this an 8.5 out of 10. I was about to give it a 9, but there's still just some messy things, and I still have some problems with it that I'll go over in the spoilers discussion. But it's a really good movie, epic scenes, and I do want to go back and see it again. Now we'll hear from our friends Austin and Emmanuel right now.
Just say the number.
Just say, like, final thoughts and what score you give it.
Are you filming?
Yeah, I'm filming.
All right, just crop this part out. All right, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I'd give it an 8 overall. It's kind of a frustrating movie to watch, but it's got a lot of action, some romance, some magic. I hope you like magic. It's got a ton of that, and prison.
Emmanuel, what was your final thoughts and score?
So Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, I would give it a 7 overall. I feel like it needed to focus more on Doctor Strange, less on Wanda.
Thank you guys for giving those scores. But thanks for watching our non-spoiler review of Doctor Strange into the Multiverse of Madness. And let us know in the comments what you thought of this movie. Give your score in the comments, and stay tuned for a spoilers discussion to come out soon. And once again, I give it an 8 out of 10. Kenny gives it an 8.5 out of 10. And definitely would recommend it.
That's enough.
Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.